Marketer of the Day, episode 638. Get a website that converts. Implement a martial arts mindset into your business to create a powerful marketing message. Manage stress and become your greatest self with Dr. Joe Schaefer.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Marketer of the Day podcast. And we're chatting with Dr. Joe Schaefer. And Dr. Joe is a digital marketing expert with an incredibly diverse background. And in addition to owning a digital marketing agency for over 11 years and working personally with hundreds of business clients, he has a PhD in Neurophysiology from the University of Texas. And his clients often call him Dr. Joe, but you could also call him Master Joe because he's a 7th degree black belt in Kung Fu, so don't get him mad. But he also operates a school of 300 plus students in Austin, and he's trained and taught for over 30 years. And so Dr. Joe brings these Kung Fu martial arts disciplines together into every strategy and tactic he uses in order to take his business clients to their next level in web marketing. So Dr. Joe, glad to be talking to you.
Hey, it's great to be here, Robert. Thanks.
Yeah, glad to have you. And so I know that, with marketing, it's always good for us to stand out from the crowd and use real aspects of our personality to, be our authentic selves and be different and all that stuff. But why did you choose to integrate this digital marketing, neuroscience, martial arts? Is that so important that it all has to be combined?
Well, I think it's natural. It has to be combined because I did all those things before I did marketing. So I've always been a huge fan of science throughout my life, and was heading towards an academic career in research. Meantime, I was teaching martial arts and advancing in that and building a school. And so at some point when I finally got my PhD, I had about a 200-person school and made the decision to go into martial arts full-time because I saw kind of a better future for my family and for my lifestyle there. And so after a few years of that, spending my own money on marketing and learning at the School of Hard Knocks that way, I started taking every class I could, every seminar, read every book on marketing, and before long, people started hiring me to work on their marketing. And so that kind of grew organically.
Awesome.
So, yeah.
So you play to your strengths, and you're on a certain trajectory, and you figured out sort of the skills, or you mastered certain areas and then applied them in their equivalent, from the martial arts stuff to the science stuff to the web marketing stuff. And so that sounds really awesome. And do you ever experience sometimes when you're working on some kind of a problem in your business, and then you go and do a hobby or something, and then because you're giving your brain a break, sometimes you have a little bit of a breakthrough, or you suddenly get it, even though it's different but similar? Does that make any sense?
No, totally. Every day, pretty much, I have to put everybody on hold and go and work out, do some Kung Fu, some Tai Chi, maybe some running. I have to put myself on top of that hierarchy. Because that's what keeps me inspired and keeps me impassioned, and so I run out of juice if I don't do that.
Right, and recharge the batteries. And what's weird for me, at least these last few months, is that sometimes it's easy to forget, right? Sometimes it's easy to fall out of the routine for me and say, well, I'm not going to go for that run, or I'm not going to go for that walk, or I'm not going to lift some weights. And then I let a few days go by, and then I wonder why things are so sluggish. And I wonder, why the brain's not quite working the way it should, or I wonder why I'm a little drained of energy. And then I realize, oh yeah, it's because I neglected the upkeep for a few days. And it's we don't realize how important that recharging motion, physical activity is until we forget about it for a few days, right?
Wow, that's there's nothing more true. And the thing too is that when you're an entrepreneur, your life is made up of a fluid environment that can be stressful and cause anxiety, right? So what you learn, and of course here's where my neurophysiology comes in, is that your autonomic nervous system, which is your parasympathetic and sympathetic, which is the fight or flight on one side and the relaxation on the other, that exercise has such a huge impact on the relaxation part of it and keeps you in balance. And so what I found is, those days go by or a week goes by and you find out why, why is my solar plexus so tight? Why am I so stressed? Why am I so reactive? And you need that every day, and it basically to take the pressure out of the system.
Darn, well, you make it sound so easy. If only there was a magic recipe or a formula, or I listen to some kind of hypnosis or something like that. But yeah, the most simple thing, take a break, have some exercise. I mean, there we go. A simple thing is what does the job. So as we're getting rocking and rolling here, out of all of your years and decades with martial arts, neuroscience, digital marketing, all that fun stuff, are there like one or two things that we could just chew on right away as far as what we need to be applying in our marketing these days?
Yeah, definitely. Let me just backtrack a little. When we first started my marketing company, our first product, everybody will remember this. It was a video that floated over top of a website. It didn't have a border around it and looked like a person was floating there. And it was very aggravating, right? Because it came up and played without your permission and started talking directly to you. And we were one of the first 2 or 3 companies in the nation that created that software and did that. And so it was a very price competitive product. And real quick, all of our competitors had a race to the bottom, and we're selling these videos for like $30 or $40, where ours was nowhere near that cheap. And it became a technology only kind of just a snappy little technology for people, whereas we always considered it to be a service that the script and what the person said was really important. And so we had to sell a bunch of these videos because they weren't that expensive in order to grow, but we treated each one of them as a very special product. And I ended up spending what a marketing company would spend hours and hours uncovering or discovering what makes a company special, what their message is, what they want people to do in their website, doing all those things, and then uncovering it and distilling it into a 30 to 60 second script for this little video. And so it is essentially, it was like Malcolm Gladwell on a tipping point, right? 10,000 hours to mastery. I spent 10,000 hours uncovering businesses in various stages of being aware or unaware of who they were, what their message should be, and helping them to distill and identify it and put it on their website. And so it was like a constant education in where people fall down most often in that process. And so, after 10 years, I hear a business owner start to talk, and I immediately kind of know right exactly where they're at, what they need to do next. And most often what it is, Robert, is well, hey, the most common question I asked them was, what do you want someone to do on your website? If we're going to write a script, we need to know what to tell them. Click on me to do this or that. And it would usually be silence, as they didn't even know how to answer that question, because they didn't know what they wanted someone to do on their site. And so there was such a lack of plan or strategy in the website, and there was no work being done on conversion, how to convert a visitor into a lead or to a sale. And so I think that's the most critical piece of work that anybody can do. Way more important almost than getting more traffic to your site is trying to convert the traffic that is getting there into an action.
That's really powerful. And even though that's a really simple principle there, I think that we could all stand to think about that and maybe even re-examine that every now and then. We look at our website and we ask ourselves, what do we want someone to do when they go to that website? And not just, here, look at all my cool stuff, or here's 10 different options, but out of all the things on there, where are you redirecting them to? Yeah, that's really important, I think. And I think that'll help us as far as eliminating a lot of the second guessing, right? If we say,
yes,
well, I could have a pop-up there, or I could have the menu
right,
all like this, instead of trying to win some design award, how about make the dang thing work and get people converting?
Well, and that's martial arts, and a kind of I would say like a warrior attitude in martial arts, is that every move has a purpose. how something looks is way less important than what you do with it, what you can accomplish with it. And so if you make a mistake in martial arts, you get hit in the head, right? So so it makes the website, and everything has to have a purpose. So very often a business owner would say, well, I want them to read this, or I want them to watch this video, or I want, and a simple question of, well, would you rather have them fill out a form and become a lead, or read that article?
Interesting. Yeah, and
And
that's a tough question, a tough question to hear, but it's an easy
it is.
answer.
That's right. And so, they bury all this information way down on the about page or what have you. And the reality is that you and me and about 1,000 other people are never going to dig past the 2 or 3 pages in their site. So, business owners have a huge blind spot when it comes to their website and their marketing, and they need someone outside that to kind of shake them up a little. I used to do a seminar, and in the seminar, I show a slide of 10 shoe stores standing side by side, all with the name shoe store on top, and say, imagine if you went into a mall with these 10 shoe stores side by side, how would you make decisions about where you're going to buy your pair of shoes? You'd run frantically from store to store. You'd kind of look in the window. You would have a real ADD in terms of where you spent your time, because you don't want to spend too much time because there's 9 other ones, and the better deal might be somewhere else. So I coined this phrase called back pressure, which is the pressure pushing someone out of your website, and there's more pressure pushing them out than pushing them in, because Google has way more results for you to check out. So they're inclined to leave before they even get there.
Right, and I think that ties into that whole concept that you also mentioned of distilling that message down to the simplest thing, and not making people scroll, and just making it as condensed, as simple as possible, especially since you always hear that we're all, starved for attention these days. But also there's that whole concept of, I don't know if you remember Ken Evoy, who had he had a web page that looked ugly, but it had the information, and might have even stood out because it was ugly. It had like just text, versus the web page that had all kinds of graphics and was beautiful, but had no text. And it's like, well, which one is going to convert better? The one that has just the text, but it's what we need, versus fancy graphics, but it has none of what we need. And it's like, sometimes it's easy to like fall in love with our own websites because we spend a lot of money on it, or it looks beautiful to us at least, or whatever kind of investment we did on our website. Now we're a little bit skewed there. And what you're making me think of too is, back when I like first got started, like so many years ago, I had basically a blog and lots of information, and like a newsletter and all this other unneeded stuff. And then one day, this owner of this popular forum linked to my website from like the front page of it, and I started getting 1 opt-in per minute on my opt-in forms, and I was freaking out. And I immediately went to the site, and I like deleted a lot of navigation, and made some of the text enlarged and centered, and added some colors where things were important. And I realized, why didn't I do this all along? Why did I wait for all this flood of traffic? And I was scrambling to make things more optimized. Why not pretend as if 1 million clicks were coming, and then get rid of the stuff they're not going to care about, and put the stuff that they do care about first and foremost in the front and center?
Yeah, absolutely. We're brutal when we go to other websites, right? We go to some other website, we're bouncing in and out. We act like everybody else. When we go to our own website, of course, we suddenly put the rose-colored glasses on, and we think that all these things are going to be important, but that's not how we serve. So I guess my bottom line is that we all know exactly what our website should look like if we were capable of kind of unhooking our biases, and we just looked at it like we looked at every other website. And I created like a spreadsheet of like 40 different little parameters that I go through and measure a site, and then I keep tweaking that site until all those move up into the green zone on scores. And every time I make that change, it changes the conversion rate. So it's an art and a science, right? But it's basically, you're just communicating to people. You have to tell them what it is, what the product is immediately when they get there, what to do next, why they should believe you. All this basic, simple, 4 or 5 steps. So.
Yeah, and I like how you put that. Like, there's the art and the science, right? There's like the there's the mechanics, the fundamentals. There's stuff where it's really clear cut and dry, yes or no. Like, is there an SSL certificate? Is there a quick load time? Is there a quick like headline at the top? But also like there's the feeling aspect of it of like, okay, well, when I go to a competitor's website and they have a lead capture and a really juicy freebie, then maybe I have to bridge the gap with my own site and say, even though it might be a little bit painful, I'm missing out on a freebie, or maybe their freebie is better than mine, or maybe their freebie is a quiz and mine is just a PDF, and maybe I could adapt or absorb some of that. And so your idea here of having the spreadsheet of these 40 parameters where you score it and get things into the green zone sounds really interesting. So to help us understand that, can you give us an example of like one or two of these components, and how do you rate that sort of thing?
Yeah, it's a very qualitative, not quantitative rating. Basically, I'm going in and I'm looking. So, for instance, when you arrive at a website, you want to know immediately within the first. Even now, they even show it's in milliseconds actually that you already made the decision to bounce. You just haven't bounced yet. So immediately you have to see some kind of visual representation of the product category, of the category itself, and then the product. So, for instance, if it's a financial, you want to see an image or text that tells you this is a financial website. Then maybe you're looking specifically for insurance or annuities or something like that. You're going to need to see the category or the product now represented. So you have a category, then a product. And so there's different. Now that's a really difficult one. And we all do the same kind of things with a business. What are you going to use for the hero image? You usually got some guy shaking another guy's hand in a business lobby or something, right? It's difficult to get a picture of business. It's difficult to get a picture of finance, but different things have different values. If you could show an actual picture of the thing that they're looking for, then that's way more impactful than text. And so that would score higher. Does that make sense? And then so for instance, I like to put a button. There's going to be a button somewhere on the page, and I call it the everyone button, because I had a client who, when I said, hey, look, would you give them the price if they fill out a form? Or do you give them the price when they call on the phone? He said, of course. I said, well, let's give them the price if they fill this form out. Will you do that? And I said, we can just shoot them over there with a button and you'll turn all these people into leads. And he said, well, wait a minute. Everybody would click that button. And he acted real indignant about it. And I said, yeah, so he didn't want to deal with a bunch of leads, I guess. So I kind of found that funny. So I call it the everyone button. So every website, I try to find the everyone button. What's the one thing that everyone coming into that site will be drawn inexorably into that path? And if you can get that as close as possible to what they want in their head, and you offer them that, then you're going to get a 5 to 10% conversion rate on the site.
Those are two really amazing concepts. And as you're describing that, what was going through my head the most was, these are things that now I'm not going to be able to unsee, right? Now when I go to any website, I mean, who knows for how long from now, maybe forever, but now when I go to a website, I'm going to be looking for those two things. Is there an everyone button where everyone who's interested enough on the site to stay, everyone would want to fill that out? And then also that visual representation of, first, am I on the right kind of site? Have I landed on a financial website, or have I landed on a website for a website software or something like that? Even if without even looking at the words, do the colors and do the image tell me I'm in the right spot before even getting into the product? So yeah, that's amazing. And so,
Robert, can I give you an example with some results on it?
Perfect. Let's do it.
Yeah. So, for instance, in my own world, my martial arts school, see, I feel bad for the other martial arts schools here in Austin, Texas, because they have to compete with a martial arts school that has a full-blown agency working for it, which is mine. So, someone who really knows how to get leads and convert visitors. So, in my website, let's talk about how I convert people. So they come to my martial art website and they see images, they see kids, they see adults, they see happy looking people. They see all the things that immediately tell them whether or not this is what they're looking for. And that locks with them. They feel good that they're there. The only question left in their mind is what? Can you guess?
I don't know. No idea.
So you're getting ready to go take a yoga class. You want to take a CrossFit class, martial art class. You're there at their website. It all looks good. Usually, the next question in like 99% of everybody's head is the same. Is this one question, which is, how much is it?
All right.
That's the pretty much universal question. I've got a button everywhere on my site that says get prices and schedules in 5 seconds. They go over, they fill out, they tell me what program they're interested in, they give me their mailing address, phone number, email address. I get all this information, and they get an autoresponder with my exact prices and schedules, just as I promised. I get 15% of all visitors to my website fill that out,
Nice.
which is about 3 times or even more the national average on lead conversion. So if you give the people exactly what it is they want, if you offer them that, then you can use that to get work out of them, get their information at a kind of a quid pro quo, right? If you want to give it to them, they'll give you a big prize as humanitarian of the year if you just put it out there in there. But they're going to visit 10 sites today, and the company that has the wherewithal to ask for your information in return for that is going to be the one that gets the appointment and gets the client.
Right. And it seems like a lot of your thought process here is about these micro commitments. Like we were mentioning that there's the milliseconds to get their attention. And then
Yes.
also where, as far as giving them what they want, it's not always like just yes or no, right? It's not like it's, well, don't reveal prices or put prices on the page, but say, well, I want to give you the prices, but you have to fill in this quick form first. So it seems like that seems like a really important thing, especially today, of make them click or make them fill out a quick thing to get that thing that they want to know the most.
Yes, and if they're not interested enough to fill that out, then they're not interested enough probably to become my client. And if I've even had people, of course, fill it out, and they'll put in the comments, "I hate this," yet they still filled it out. Now, I usually use that as the indicator to not even contact this person because they're already contentious. But that's such a minority. And a lot of business owners, when they'll see that one person complain, they'll also lose their nerve and shut down that whole process. In advertising, if your advertising is not making somebody angry or not like you, you're not actually saying anything. You need to have somebody who doesn't like it in order to be saying something.
Yeah, and that's a really important observation, I think, because like you said, like if someone has a bad attitude in comments, I mean that's not good. But you're making me think about there's some people that I buy from again and again who I really just don't really like their personality, but it's still some of the stuff they have is so good. I still buy from them, and some people
Yeah.
attend my webinars or buy from me, even though they don't like me, but it still gets them to take some sort of action. And I mean,
Right.
there's been times, and I'm sure you've done this too, where like maybe you close an offer or you increase a price and people are mad, and there's a tendency of saying, well, I want to be Mr. Humanitarian, I want to make everyone love me. But if you have something and people are mad that the price is what it is, but they still want it, or you close the offer and they're mad that they can't get it, I mean, maybe it's important to look past are they mad or not and say, well, why are they mad? If they're mad that they can't get what I want, that means it's really valuable.
Correct. I mean, of course, you're always going to have people who are going to be contentious, right, about even prices that are actually acceptable to them, but they just have some kind of core programming that scarcity mentality, that how dare you charge that much for this. I still have people come even to my martial arts school, and I'm one of the cheapest in town, and say you're way too expensive. It's not even true by a long shot. But if I let that bother me too much, I would be altering my prices all the time, getting cheaper and cheaper.
Yeah, and it seems like instead of trying to like give in and please them, maybe like find a way to tap into that, right? If they're getting emotional about our business for some reason, then maybe we can piggyback on that in some sort of way. And so one thing that I'm really curious about is, since you have this blended background of like neuroscience, martial arts, and marketing and all that. So I know almost nothing about martial arts other than there's like the 1-inch punch guy, or sometimes people can like break boards with their head. So for someone who knows nothing about martial arts, can you share with us like a martial arts concept that has been really useful in just like your life and your marketing?
Yeah. So basically, if we put aside the whole concept of martial arts being about fighting, and look at it as in terms of like a personal transformation journey, it is a system of goals, milestones, where you're constantly being kind of challenged. You reach a milestone, you feel successful, and then suddenly you're hit with another one. It makes you scared, and you start it all over again. Uh, there's, there's, I follow this kind of thinking, which is the 5 steps to mastery. The first 3 in the steps to mastery is fear. We're all afraid when we start something new. The second one is boredom. We're tired of doing it. And trying to get better at it, becomes boring. Third one is we start to actually hate parts of it because we're practicing it so much. If you go to any professional musician, of course, they go through that. They're trying to prepare a piece, maybe to perform. They start to become bored with it, and eventually they hate it. And that they have to get through all of that in order to reach competency and the mastery. And so anything that's worth doing, like martial arts, is such a long journey, but you're always kind of restarting it again. So let's say you reach a black belt, and now you're starting learning all this brand new stuff again. That's a whole different level. You feel like a beginner again, and you're afraid again. And now you have to go through the boredom and the hatred again. And then you like it and love it. Now you reach the next level of black belt, and it keeps going like that. So, it of course has self-defense and fighting in there, but because it's a progressive training, because it has this kind of belt-driven thing that has these milestones, it's actually a perfect system for tracking your journey, and for always keep kind of pushing you out of your comfort zone. So it's actually been used for thousands of years. Like in China, the emperors and all the high level generals, they all of course studied martial arts as a way of perfecting themselves.
Awesome. So fulfillment and breaking through to the other side, and knowing that the hurt, the pain, the boredom, the negative stuff can then be fuel. And once we break onto the other side, then we get those achievements, and then
Yes.
we can enjoy getting to the next step in our journey. I mean, yeah, that's a lot of fun stuff to think about. And like
Can
whenever I go out for like a quick run or something, I'm always like, can I run a little longer than I had previously, or can I run until I get to this next street or this next tree, just trying to get to the next 10% more than
yes,
I
yeah.
had in the previous iteration. Yeah.
Yeah, and can I connect that with business for you? Uh, so in a martial arts school, right? Someone walks into my school, and they know they're not going to be a black belt in the first month. They know they're going to have to go through these steps, and it's a natural part of that journey. But in the business world, someone has an idea and they want to start a business, and unfortunately 6 months down the road, it's not quite met their dreams, and so they fold up shop. When the truth is, they're not a black belt yet in that business. They're not even a brown belt. In fact, they're like a yellow belt or a blue belt, and they should have had more accurate expectations about where they should be if they just stuck with it. And what I always like to say to my business owners, because I almost put them on a belt plan, basically, where are you right now? You're a brown belt. Well, SEO, that's a brown belt level thing. You're a blue belt right now. We need to work on your messaging first. So if instead, if I say to my business owner clients, hey, where are you on your 10-year plan? Because actually it's going to take you 10 years probably to reach your dreams, your dream level of this, unless you have a ton of money to throw at it. If you're just using time instead of money, it's going to take time. And I think if people had more perseverance and stuck with it, they would all achieve what they wanted.
I love it. Yeah, like so I'm seeing a lot of those connections with martial arts from like the belt system, and how what I'm hearing from you is how important it is to have these like containers, so to speak, right? Because it's easy to get
Yes.
so overwhelmed and say, well, there's 100 different things that could be different with my website, and you might say, well, just focus on that first landing page, or focus on just that freebie, or focus on like just this one aspect, and perform those repetitions and master that one simple thing, knowing that there's tons of things that you don't know, knowing that the things that are hard for you now will be easier once you just have some focus and get these problems knocked out one at a time. And that the problems will never end. There'll always be new things to get to, but that's just part of your journey. So I love it.
You got it. That's it.
Awesome. Well, I feel like I'm a brown belt in thinking in your book, maybe. I don't know.
You are.
So
that's right.
So anyway, so as far as us using some of this to better our best and to create the business that we know we deserve and that we can create ourselves, what's the next step for people listening here? How do they contact you? Where are your websites? What should people check out after listening to our conversation today?
Well, the name of my agency that I started a decade ago or so is Motility, and it's MOTILITI.com. And we named it after motion because, remember, again, our first product was a video product. And that product, thankfully, is no longer popular because it was kind of annoying to everybody. But yeah, in the process of that transferring over the years, we started picking up and doing SEO and cost per click, or AdWords, pay-per-click advertising, Facebook advertising. We build websites. We're a full-service agency because I look at every business as a holistic problem, right? So we really have to be able to do pretty much everything that's possible in the digital marketing. So it's Motility, MOTILITI.com, and we work with everything from small to medium businesses, maybe from $500,000 a year up to $100 million a year.
Awesome. So the place to go is motility.com. That's MOTILITI.com. If you need help with a new website, building your website, SEO, cost per click, Facebook ads, wherever it is that you're stuck in your business, or you could be doing more, or where you could have a team get you a flood of new leads, flood of new customers, and get your website working the way that it should have been working all along, then the place to go is motility.com. And as we wrap things up here, Dr. Joe, do you have any final words of advice for us today?
You know what? When you stop listening to the interview here, I would go right to my website and I would open up about 4 or 5 other competitors on other tabs and just surf back and forth between the 5 of them and think to yourself, why would anybody choose mine over these other 4? If they didn't know me already, and just take a real bold look at your own website.
All right. Maybe it's temporarily painful, but it'll get us a lot more results. And a lot of those other competitors are probably living in ignorance, right? They probably think they have a great website. They probably think they have the best website in the world. And that's to their detriment because they won't improve. And you listening to this podcast, you will. So the place to go is motility.com, MOTILITI.com. And thanks so much, Dr. Joe, for stopping by and imparting us with just buckets and waterfalls worth of your wisdom here today.
Thanks so much, Robert. Thank you.
Do you want to be a sponsor for the Robert Plank Show? Make sure to go right now to robertplank.com/ask, fill out the form, and tell us how you'd like to sponsor the show. Thanks for listening.